All right, a happy Victory Monday. A happy Mike Giardi Monday. It is just past 8 o'clock. Apologies to those of you waiting. A couple of extra minutes before we do another live show here today. My wife's water is threatening to break at any minute and ruin another wonderful show. So let's get to the most important things and talk football. For those of you who are new, this is another episode of the Pat's Interference Podcast, proud member of the nourishing, neighborly, non-conforming, non-denominational, nudist. How did that get in there?
No.
And a little nutty CLNS Media Network. Patriots are 7-2, tied for the best record in the league, tied for the longest win streak in the league. Drake Maye remains an MVP candidate. Life is very, very good. So I want to start in the obvious place. Mike, there is a guy at my gym. He's got a beard of an outdoorsman. He looks a lot like one of the characters in a great show that you and I just finished. It was called Task. Okay.
Excellent.
The character's name is Robbie. And you find out in the first 10, 15 minutes of the show that Robbie is robbing drug houses with friends of his, and he's getting away with it. Okay, so like life is pretty good for Robbie too. And every time I see this guy, I want to stop him. I say, "Man, I know you're planning. I know what those preacher curls are all for. I know what you're training for. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Be happy with what you have. Appreciate the money you've already stolen. Okay." And I'm not telling fans right now to stop dreaming big, even as the Patriots rob the Falcons and their owner Arthur Blank, who looks more like a mafia don than any owner in sports, okay? When they robbed a gift that they honestly tried to gift wrap them. Never apologize for winning. Steal your joys. Take them where you can. But there are signs. There are cracks that threaten this big escape, not to Canada, Robbie's case, but to San Francisco. And so we're here today to not just explore the cracks and feed the whiners, typical Boston sports media, negative, blah, 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 because those trolls have been starving for 6 weeks. We have only had glazing and sugar and sweet praise for the Patriots for 6 weeks. We got to feed them, those poor trolls. But we're here to offer solutions, plus film notes, dad pod, let me have it. I'm ready to go.
What do you want me to let you have it already? You start talking about your wife's water about to break. That might be a little too much information. I mean, we know the baby's coming any day now, but she probably doesn't want you to announce that on the public forum.
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll make podcast history. I don't know. Everything's content nowadays. What could be better than that?
I did when my first one was born, I was doing a live shot at Fenway Park. Got the call. It's like 10 minutes to the hit. On my way to the hospital, I'm like, I can do the live shot and I'll meet you there. So I did the live shot. No idea what I talked about. My good friend Wendy Nix, who worked at Channel 7 at the time, was crying for me that I was about to have a baby. Meanwhile, I was just like, whatever. Got through it. You'll get through it.
Is that when Wendy and Ben Charrington were still together?
Yes, that is indeed.
Is that right?
Good memory from you.
So this is what you get at Pat's Interference. You get a little gossip. You get some pop culture references. You get some threatening pregnancies just to barrel through at any minute. But in all seriousness, what?
No, I was going to say quickly, statute of limitations is probably up on this. Theo Epstein used to call Ben at like 4 a.m. When he went on a sabbatical, he would call Ben out of the blue and be like, "I missed baseball," and da-da-da. And Ben's like, "I was sleeping. Could this? You may be in Brazil right now or wherever, but like you may be following Pearl Jam on the road, but I have a job to do right here. You could probably wait until daylight hours for me." Anyway,
Wright Thompson, shockingly, did a great piece about Theo Epstein, and the one nugget that I remember in there, is fuzzy, but I'm pretty sure it was that Theo would listen to calls from like air traffic controllers or some really dire situation with air travel as a way just to give himself perspective, like glossing over that this is kind of like sociopathic behavior of like these horrible, stressful moments, just to be like, yeah, I got it pretty good, as opposed to kicking his feet up and maybe having a glass of bourbon, as we have a little Bart's here today in place of a beer. What are you drinking?
Back to cake again. I stocked up. It's quite delightful. Oh, nice. Exhibit A.
Pumpkin, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tasty.
Very good. Patriots are no pumpkins. They're 7-2. Look, I wrote after the game, their cracks are starting to show, and this is true of every team in the league, and especially a year like this, right? Like there's no single dominant team. That one team lost at Pittsburgh. That was the Colts. The other team you would pick in the AFC, the Chiefs, just lost. And so this idea that the Patriots are not perfect should not be a surprise to anyone. But when you get to this level of territory and competition, as we talk about, are they Super Bowl contenders or not? This is the type of scrutiny that you invite. It's not criticism or negativity. It's just combing through now like we didn't last year when it was like they can't block, they can't run, they can't throw, and they can't pressure. What more is there to say? You want to go for, further? We got to get finer into the details now to figure out what they want to fix. And so here were the 3 areas that I identified. Drake Maye's fumbles, okay, their pass rush. And I included their coverage of number 1 receivers, which I would pivot to now to, more about their like red zone defense. Okay.
Yep.
Agree or disagree?
I'm with you on all 3 things. I texted you earlier today, the way that their rules dictate how they play coverage, especially in the low red, is driving me mad. And it is very easily decipherable. I think we've seen from other teams, even teams that aren't on the same talent level as you are. And then when you have someone like Drake London, who is obviously capable of mossing everyone with one-handed catches left and right, it makes the challenge even greater. Mike Vrabel wasn't all that worked up about it today when we asked him about, what's going on down there, and said, some of it is just they made better plays than we do, but I think they have to rethink how they're going to go about that. The May thing is interesting because I think it's still, for as great as it was for those 7 weeks, including the Pittsburgh game with the 2 turnovers. You see, I worked that in there before I got that in before the 7-minute mark.
Come on.
But he's still learning, right? He's still growing. He's still figuring this thing out. And like, he beat himself up, Andrew, pretty strongly after the game. And you could see the sort of the wear it took on his face. You could like kind of see you remember you did the thing where he was at the podium and you were like, this is different for him.
After the opener, 100%.
Yeah. And this was, to me, something similar in that, like, and not that he hasn't said this before, but like, first things first, I got to play better for us. And then when I asked him, well, what are the things that you were bothered about? And he talked about the turnovers, and he's like, I can't keep thinking that I can outrun these guys or that I can juke these guys. That's not who I am. And that's not who these athletes are that are chasing me. And the fumble, which was critical, really, because it's 21-7 and you feel like they're at midfield, they're probably going to get 3 out of this the way things are going. And that's probably the ball game. And instead, they don't handle the stun up front, and that's on the offensive line. But the ball's away from his body. And it's like, you did this against Pittsburgh. You can't do this again. He had done a better job since, but he got loose with it. He doesn't have big hands, which is, they're not tiny. We're not talking Will Campbell T-Rex arms or anything like that, but that's an issue too. So it's even more imperative for him to hang on to the football like that with 2 hands. So there are definitely things. And lastly, the pass rush I wrote about today. And again, I asked him directly about, are you getting enough? Are you impacting the quarterback enough, affecting the quarterback enough? He said, there's some good rushes and, the intentional grounding and this, that, and the other thing. But they haven't been calling around for guys to help the pass rush if they thought the pass rush was fine. So I didn't expect them to be like, oh, geez, we got to do something, because that just tells all your competitors, oh, the price just went up. But at the same time, it's clear they're not doing enough. Penix sat back there for how long? That's one of the reasons they stayed in the game, right? Because they were just letting him sit back there, and he could eat a sandwich, smoke a cigarette, make a phone call, and then throw one up 40 yards downfield to Drake London.
So zooming out for a second, all the things we just detailed about the things that the Patriots need to fix or they're not good enough at or Drake Maye's doing again are great problems to have.
Yes.
Every team has problems, right? You could have a real conversation right now about whether you would want to be the Patriots at 7-2 or the Chiefs at 5-4. Not long term, but just like right now, schedule, playoff road, injuries, all that stuff. It's a real conversation you could have. And for a team coming off of consecutive 4-win seasons, I think it should go without saying. But the message that Mike Vrabel relayed post-game, I think, is a really good one.
Yep.
Even independent of football, joy and gratitude, especially nowadays. Thumbs up for that, okay? But when we talk about May, that's fixable, right? Keep 2 hands on the football. And we understand we're going to give him the grace and the latitude of being a 23-year-old dude who has not made his 25th start yet, I don't believe, to kind of learn on the job. That's what he has to do. The low red zone, you can change your rules, okay? You can fix those things. The pass rush, though, leads us to the trade deadline, because the only place that you can replace that pass rush, 2 sacks in the last 2 weeks, a middling pressure rate, I don't care if you like PFF, or sports info solutions or true media or fake sports info solutions and problems, okay? It's just okay. And we hear from Vrabel all the time about we got to affect the quarterback, we got to affect the quarterback, we got to affect the quarterback. The most important rush they had was due to a center snapping the ball before his quarterback was ready and Milt Williams being like, surprise, and forcing an intentional grounding. You can't obviously bank on that again and again and again. They need to get a little bit more force, which is to say, I expect them, based on what I've heard in the conversations I've had, to pursue smaller level deals. You and I both wanted Jalen Phillips. Did you have a nice cry this morning? I did.
I was a little disappointed, but when I saw the price tag at 3, I was like, I get it, because as we've talked about on this pod, it's still year 1 of the rebuild. So we can talk about where they are, and that's great. And like, it's ahead of schedule, but like at the same time, they had a bunch of crappy drafts before this regime got here. And there's a talent deficiency on the roster, especially young, controllable talent. And you can't just part with those high picks when you're not really sure, is that guy part of our long-term future? Like, if you're going to part with a 3, I'd like to have the guy under contract for next year too. Like there's all these different things that I think you have to work through if you're the Patriots. And I think they're, despite maybe some of the push from some media sources and from fans, like, hey, just stay the course. We got to stay the course because we've set this thing up going in the right direction. We don't want to submerge it by doing something rash and stupid and get nothing out of it.
Well, 2 hands up on the media sources who wanted them to trade for Jalen Phillips. Okay, I was tweeting last night.
Yeah, but I'm talking more about, like, to me, the 3, we can argue the
never going to happen.
Yeah, but when you're talking about a 1 or a 2, which a lot of people are just like, "Can't do that, do that." It's like, chill.
Well, if people are saying that, look, again, this all comes from a good place. Enthusiasm, 6-game winning streak, 7-2 record. Okay, but when you pause and sit and sink into the reality of where the Patriots are and how close they came to giving that game away, and everyone has a stinker. This didn't quite qualify, but it was close. This is not a roster that is top 8 in the league right now. You probably have a top 8 quarterback. That's great. We didn't know that before the season. But the point is, it's not just that it's 1.5 of the rebuild, or you're close, but not that close to contending yet. It's the fact that the people in charge look at this and go, why is winning now a reason to lose our leverage at the table and take your price as opposed to one that we want? We're ahead of schedule. We'll wait. We're 1 offseason away, not 1 player away. And to that end, I can share this now. My understanding is the Patriots were really not all that close on Jalen Phillips. So there it is.
Yeah.
And this is not because I felt that way or decided it. Jalen Phillips would be a Patriot. If it was a 3, I'd have a lot of conversations with my front office. We would be calling at 4 a.m., not Theo to Ben Sherrington, but just me to you with a bourbon and some PrizePicks, which we'll get to later. Patriots are not that close in Jalen Phillips. I expect them to target players like Arden Key, who's been mentioned and thrown around, some running backs, given some blitz pickup issues, which we'll cover here in a second.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important for this season, but also you need to know that they are taking a long-term view because Vrabel has said this to us as recently as last week. That is the context of what's going on. And that is also partly the cause of their thinking and whatever will happen or won't happen. I think they should add, and it's not just because of this year, because I assume they would sign Jalen Phillips to some kind of extension, which, by the way, even if he walked, need everyone to remember this. The comp pick formula is not just about losses, okay? Like, it's not Jalen Phillips walks out the door and you can guarantee a 3rd-round pick. If the Eagles who have him now or the Patriots have they gotten him spend a lot this upcoming offseason and he leaves, that cancels each other out. It's a net of the formula. So anyway, do you have anything more on the trade deadline? Because I just have had the same intel for the last week and a half. Running backs, edge defenders, that's who they want. Lower level deals are what they're chasing. And they're really not in a rush because, again, they look at this as year 1. I would call it year 1.5. But that's just me.
Yeah, no, sort of the intel that I've gotten is similar to yours in the sense that nothing has really, I haven't heard that they're close to anything or that all of a sudden they're considering this blockbuster deal that no one had talked about or heard about. The Arden Key thing keeps coming up. And obviously there's the familiarity. He played 1 year under Vrabel, his final year in Tennessee. While he's not the big fish that everybody wants, I want to point to you in the 4th quarter of the game, late in the football game, Anthony Jennings was one of your edge rushers. Now, I like Anthony Jennings as a player. I've said that before. Anthony Jennings is a run defender who is having to rush the passer. And if you witnessed him trying to rush the passer against Jake Matthews, it didn't go anywhere. I'm not saying Arden Key is going to come in and be, I don't know, instant electricity, But I do know that he is better at rushing the passer than Anthony Jennings is. So when we're talking about improving the pass rush, short of, some a blockbuster, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, things that aren't happening, then this is how you tinker with that and give yourself this place where you turn in the fourth quarter. Hey, you know what? Calebon's got to sit out a play or a series, or we need to get him a little blow here, or same thing with Harold Landry. It's a lot better to go to someone who's done it and performed at a decent level that you trust to do it in those spots than say, okay, Anthony, this is not your bag, but we need you to go out there and do it anyways. And you get the predictable results.
And it's one thing, we talk about players in depth and getting injured. And what does that do for your team? This team just is not stacked with depth. The talent is good enough to make a run. They're good. That's over. That conversation's over. We're talking about getting to great and then real Super Bowl contender status, because I just don't think they're there. 1-1 record against playoff teams as it stands right now. It's just what it is. Okay. It's one thing, though, if Drake Maye gets hurt and your quarterback depth is such that you're like, okay, the season's lost. Like that's the NFL. It's another, though, if Caleb Chason, who has no bigger fan in the Patriots beat than your guy here, who threw a hand into his chest as a joking effort to block him, that man, I think I'm still bruised over here. If he goes down and you're a good team or you're an actual Super Bowl contender, your status as a Super Bowl contender should not change. But the way the Patriots are built right now, that would be the fact. That would be the reality. That would be the truth. And that is something I don't think that they should be content to live with.
No, and again, the cost of an Arden Key is going to be less than the cost for Jalen Phillips or some of these other names that have been kicked around. Draymond Jones just went from the Titans, who are clearly holding a fire sale, to the Baltimore Ravens for a fifth rounder that could turn into a fourth based on him meeting certain playing time goals and stats, etc. And that's kind of what I see as the Arden Key thing. It's probably a fifth round pick with some attachments to it that, hey, if the guy goes nuclear, you got to give us a fourth instead. But that's a lot easier, I think, to stomach for a team that, whether you say they're a half year into the rebuild or a year and a half, as you say, that's a lot easier to stomach. And then say to ourselves, well, we got better today. Maybe not what everybody wants out there. It's not what they're going to want from 10-2 or 2-6 on the radio, but that is, we've made progress here. And that's the whole thing. They've been trying to move this forward the entire time that they've been here.
Okay. Back to Sunday. So again, my takeaway was, all right, you're starting to see these cracks. Can you fix them in time for Tampa Bay? Because Tampa Bay is going to be the new referendum. Like, the Patriots have not played 9 games before this one. Whatever happens on Sunday, you mentioned the radio. This will be the be-all, end-all of what the Patriots can be. You beat the Bucks, booking my tickets to the Bay Area. I'm going for a whole week, okay? And then coming back for the parade in February. If they lose, fake season, winning, blah, blah, blah. That's obviously not the case. But my point is, this is a really important game. Based on what you saw from this last game, though, do you feel better or worse about their long-term prospects of becoming, I believe, if they win Sunday against the Bucks, Super Bowl contenders?
I believe it or not, I feel better about where they're at. And part of it has nothing to do with them. Part of it has to do with, as you mentioned, what happened around the league. Detroit. I mean, I would have bet the house. Detroit coming off.
Hold on. Like, you're going to make a good point here. But this is to say, I'm about to ask a girl out at the dance, and she doesn't like me as much as I hoped or thought. She just looks around the rest of my class and goes, wow, these kids are uglier than I remembered. So yes, I'll go out with you. Yes, your chances improve. Come on. This can't be just the cheerleader effect. Okay, come on. This has got to be something a little bit. Is that it? Is that the only thing?
If you sit there, if you're Mike Vrabel, Ryan Cowden, Elliott Wolf, from up above, Robert and Jonathan, guys on the roster going, so Indy lost to Pittsburgh and turned it over 6 times. We turned it over 5, almost beat them. Except, Kansas City just lost to Buffalo, currently not in the playoffs, the 8th seed. There's only 7 teams that make it unless the league changes the rules between now and January, which
very possible. For Kelsey.
Baltimore, who everybody's back on, I think their odds are like even money to win the division, which, okay, I get it because they've had injuries. They're 3-5. They still have a long way to go. Denver has Bo Nix. You can throw all you want at me about Bo Nix. Bo Nix snoozes through 50 minutes of every game and then finds it for 10 minutes. He's whatever. He's been better than I thought he was going to be, but he's still not that good. So if I'm going to look around at and I beat Buffalo already, and they've got to come to me. in December. So yeah, I do think that plays a big role into it. Not going to change how I approach the trade deadline, but would change how I feel about the team. Saying like, boy, this year maybe more than any given Sunday. That cliche. It's been clear to me that things are much more wide open, especially in the AFC, than I would have thought coming into the year.
I feel the same.
Sure. It's the girlfriend. By the way, in your analogy with the cheerleader, the girlfriend, the good-looking girl who, all right, I guess I'll go out with him. Well, you got your foot in the door. So now.
Oh, sure. I'm not complaining. Man, if you gave me that scenario, I would have taken it when I was 16 for sure.
Turn on the Giardi charm. Well, back in the day, it was Dracar, however you said it. Put a little spritz behind the ear. I'm ready to go. My game is ready.
I thought that was a fake name you were saying. Back in the day when I was known as Jakar, because I couldn't go around telling people my.
I can't say it.
It was just another Mike, so I made up this fake mysterious name. Jakar.
That's my Uber name.
That is your Uber. I still have not used Clarence, by the way. We'll do it sometime. Anyway, look, if you had to pin me down, I'd feel a little bit worse. Not in a way that's appreciably different about how I felt about this team beforehand. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of they felt a little casual to me in the second half. And Vrabel said it before halftime. We quote took a nap. He said it like 5 times now, including WEI in the morning and his post-game press conference last night. And you get away with it, and that's great. But you got away with it because they missed an extra point, and their center snapped the ball too soon when they're 20 yards away from field goal range and kicking and winning that game. That didn't happen. I'm not counting this as a win for the Falcons because it wasn't. Right. Okay. And again, I feel about the same as the Patriots as I did a week ago. I didn't even have a feel for this game. I think I'm still asking you, be like, do you know what's going to happen? I hate this Falcons team. I don't know what to expect.
By the way, do you hate them even more after watching them play?
No, I actually like them a little bit more.
Come on.
Yeah, I came around. Yeah. Oh. I don't know what this effect is, but it's something. I don't like the offense. I like Penix more. I thought he really stood in there and had some nice throws. And look, Drake London does that, and Bijan Robinson posts up Marcus Jones a couple of times with these one-handed grabs, like he's just playing on an 8-foot hoop in his driveway against his kids. Like, come on, all due respect, of course, to Marcus Jones. The point is, I just would want to see some killer instinct and some little cleaner play at the end, because you had all the motivation, right, going into halftime. Hey, we just let them back in this thing. We have to step on their throats. We have to finish this, okay? And I understand that Drake London beat Christian Gonzalez, and that's going to happen. And he makes this spectacular catch on 4th down, beats Carlton Davis, has his 3rd touchdown. Okay, whatever. And you won the game. And you made plays at the end to seal that. Just overall, it wasn't as convincing or as clean as I would have liked to have been. And that's all. The flip side is, look, you were always going to be motivated going into Tampa. But now that you have tape to clean up and a carrot to chase down there with the Bucs and Baker Mayfield and this good team, I feel a little bit better now about their mindset going into Sunday.
I do too. And I'll just tell you, like, taking the temperature of the locker room after the game, it was like, we won. And again, you're not going to, as Mike's message was to us and to them, no, don't let anyone take your joy from you. You won the game. It's hard to do in this league. But they realized, like, we didn't play to our capabilities. And that's that unattainable goal. You're never going to reach perfection. But they keep saying, like, you see parts and pockets of the game where every week it's all coming together. And you're like, boy, if you could just put this together for 4 quarters, they haven't been able to consistently do that. But I just think there was in their brain, they were like, okay, we will celebrate, but like, we gotta get our ass back to work. Cause if we go down to Tampa and play like this, maybe we're on the wrong end of a 17-point beatdown. And, then the conversation, as you mentioned, changes even more and the negativity will come out, which maybe can unify a team, but like, they don't want to have to experience that. Like, no, we want to play better than we did. So let's go out and have a better week of practice and try to have a better performance from the first play to the very last.
What did you make of that message, by the way? I took it knowing how Drake reacted after the opener when they lose.
Yeah.
And how he came off last night, that Vrabel was getting ahead of some of his most important pieces in that team. Drake obviously being the most important piece, right? And how self-critical they can be. Speaking as someone who, by the way, jokingly refers to himself as a recovering perfectionist. So like, I get where this is coming from. But it almost, like, initially I heard it as him giving too much power to people on the outside of the media. But that's not what he was doing. I think he was getting ahead of Maye being down in himself. Pick any other player who had a bad game here this week and say, look, it's fine. You get one of those every once in a while, but you come back and we do the same thing. We will get a different result, and you got to believe. But don't be your own worst enemy here. Don't put obstacles in front of yourself because you felt what happened behind you didn't go to plan. That's life. We're looking ahead.
There was a good little snippet in the locker room of Josh McDaniels coming bounding in with a big smile on his face when we were in the locker room, and Drake had gotten out of the shower and was half dressed, and he came over to him, and Drake kind of had his head down, and like he's hitting him in the chest, and he's smiling, and he's gesticulating, and he's clearly trying to amp him up. And I think your point is incredibly spot on, that wasn't for fan base, that wasn't for the radio talking heads or TV that are going to pound him and write stories about it's a fraud team or whatever. No, this was more about this team is still learning each other. There's still some really important young pieces, Drake being primary, and we forget sometimes it's 21 games into his NFL career. Like that's not a huge chunk, and he's played at a higher level than we could have imagined this soon. But there will be these moments where it does go, there's a little roller coaster sort of performance to it, and you've got to make sure that you keep him up and keep him positive because the team does feed off of him and his energy. I think it's, talked about last week, the run and the 28-yard run and the bad slide afterwards, and the crowd's chanting MVP, and he doesn't hear any of it because they're making fun of him in the huddle for like, what the hell was that slide? Like, so I think there's that balance that they're trying to strike, and I'm with you 100% that it was, let's keep Drake up because obviously anything we do, we're going to need him to be at his best.
Yeah, and I think quotes like the ones he gave after the game, and you typically see, are like catnip for fans, right? You want to hear them suffer when they're winning, and not that they're miserable, but they're striving for more. Nothing is good enough for them. He sets that record in Tennessee for highest completion percentage out there, highest completion percentage in a single game for the Patriots. Breaks Tom Brady's record, and his response was like, "Oh, I left some out there." Okay, and people are like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest thing." Like, look, over time, yeah, that'll push you places that you never thought you could reach. It'll also drag you down into places mentally when you feel like the only things you can see are your failures that you can't pull out of alone. So this is them extending a hand, I think, to him and to others saying, hey, look, things are good. I know you didn't love it, but you got what we wanted most, which was a win. Speaking of a win, I'm going to read you some numbers and you tell me how they won despite these things. We do these every week, critical factors. Here we go. Turnovers, Patriots had 2. Falcons had 0. Explosive play rate. Patriots 4.4%, Falcons 7.4%. Success rate, Patriots 46%, Falcons 41%. That's their first win there out of these 3. They're not getting another one. Red zone efficiency, Patriots 3 of 4, Falcons 3 of 3. Defensive pressure rate, 37.5% for the Patriots. Another, that's what it is. I'm not running away from the number. I created it. I charted it. I looked at every play. It's a lot of hurries, not a whole lot of hits and sacks. Falcons, a lot of sacks here. 6, and their pressure rate was 50. So of those 5 critical factors, the Falcons won 4 and the Patriots only had 1. But the Patriots won the football game. Why?
In part because your coaching staff is smarter than theirs. There's so many different little parts to it. I mean, you miss a PAT. Obviously, who knows what happens if Parker Romo hits the PAT. The intentional grounding, clapgate, please, whatever. If you go back and watch the play, by the way, the right guard just not moving when everybody else moves for like a good second. I mean, it felt like he was like, everybody's going but me. I probably should get up. Milton Williams is already 3 steps past him. But I just think this is why I was saying about, do you feel better about the Falcons? Not that this isn't a Falcons podcast, but I would launch Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson straight into the sun. Raheem Morris is a very good defensive coordinator. This is his second crack at being a head coach, and it's the second time that his team is wildly inconsistent and at times looks unprepared. And Zach Robinson, who everybody was high on because he came from the McVay tree and the Patriots need to hire him as the OC and he didn't want any part of it. I can't decide I guess it all runs through the head coach, but not putting Penix under center, playing out of the pistol so often, being really good at play action when they did it, but not really using it. I think 8 play action attempts in the game, but for 85 yards on 5 completions. not funneling the ball through Bijan Robinson, who is probably, not even probably, he's one of the 10 best offensive players in the league. You could maybe even argue one of the 5 best if they used him properly. So to me, those sorts of things like, well, Mike Vrabel, would they do that with one of their guys? Like they've let Drake Maye play. Like this is what he's good at. We're going to do this. We're going to lean into it, and we're going to coach him hard on the other things so that that's part of our game too. I just felt like Atlanta, especially offensively, but it was some of the decisions too. Just you gave them opportunities, and in a lot of cases, they just gave it right back with the way they played.
Patriots had the ball last. That to me is what it was, and they missed an extra point. Like that's as simple. You can make a case that Michael Penix outdueled Drake Maye, and the advanced stats would support that. He certainly didn't have the worst mistakes in there, and he made some impressive throws. I don't think getting into a conversation about the two of them really gets us anywhere. It's just to say that like that's how close this was. You know, like statistically, again, fewer turnovers, more explosive plays, same number of touchdowns when you got in the red zone. They were right there. And I know they're talented at the skill positions. And that was the talking point all week, right? For the Patriots to not take them lightly. As a team that just got their asses kicked by the Dolphins before that shut up by the Panthers. 2 teams the Patriots beat.
Yep.
They showed up. And their defense, by the way, holding the Patriots to 3 points in the second half surprised me. But that plan, look, there are elements of just they do what they do, and that worked. But it worked specifically well against the Patriots. I mean, not just because of their offensive line had to deal with a lot of one-on-one blocks, and they're going to give those up. But even for May, like a lot of the match coverage and stuff that they were running, they haven't seen a ton of that so far this season. A lot of man, some spot drop, get some sim pressure stuff. But this was like, if you weren't well versed in match coverage, you're looking at that defense. You don't know what you're seeing. I'm not speaking about Drake. I'm speaking about you and I and anybody else who's kind of doing work in this space. Speaking of Drake, let's get to how well he played right after this. Okay. If you're 4-1 in anything, you got a pretty good record, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My record the last 2 weeks on PrizePicks, it's 4-1. It's pretty good. And I know people who listen to this podcast know about PrizePicks, and they might be kind of tuning out for the next 45, 60 seconds, whatever. That's cool. You should pay attention because PrizePicks is the best place anywhere of all of the places trying to get your attention and your money while you watch sports. This is the best and easiest way to do it. It's not because they sponsor the podcast or the CLNS Media Network. It's because I play this, Giardi plays this, Doug plays this. A lot of our, maybe most, if not all of our guests play PrizePicks because here's how it works. You pick football, you pick basketball, you pick hockey, you pick baseball. RIP, greatest Game 7 I've ever seen, by the way. You pick your own players. You pick your own stats. You can change the numbers on the stats that they give you at PrizePicks and on the PrizePicks app. And you build a lineup of 2 to 6 players with those stats, and you go more or you go less. And it's that simple. Once you pick your players and stats, at least 2, you file in that lineup, and there it goes. And we give out PrizePicks on this podcast every single week. That's how we're 4-1. It's Drake Maye passing yards or Drake Maye touchdowns or tight end receiving yards, whatever it might be. But we're going to give you those picks here every single week later in the week before the game. So all you have to do is listen and build our lineups or build your own. But the only way you do this is if you download the PrizePicks app today. And here's the best part. If you do that and you use code CLNS, you will get $50, 50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. C+. That's what I gave May for this. What about you?
In many ways, it was the tale of two halves, right? If you look at some of the nerd numbers, the completion percentage over expected, he was plus 16 in the first half, and he was minus 16 in the second half. There were a few big throws in the second half that helped, in fact, create points and seal the game. But by and large, he wasn't the same guy after the fumble. And then, of course, the early interception in the third quarter. So, yeah, I think probably C+ is a fair grade. There were times in this game, and I feel like this has become a recurring theme over the last few weeks as we nitpick a little bit, where he's bypassing shorter throws and completions, or he gets locked in on someone and then he takes off. And look, I can't tell you 1, 2, 3, where is he supposed to be reading it? But sometimes you can see his eyes in that direction, and you're like, you wanted this over here, but this was open underneath it. This was taking too long. his clock in his head, I'm starting to move. Like, just give it to that guy. Take the 5-yard check down, take the 6-yard check down, and maybe that guy makes someone miss because that's what they get paid to do more than you get paid to do. You get paid to distribute the football. So again, not like a massive thing, but I feel like 4 or 5 times a game now, I'm sort of, when I go back and watch it, I'm like, probably could have done that. Probably could have done that. A couple of times you've seen receivers, and it's not like last year where guys are throwing up their hands or Jalen Polk's walking off the field in the middle of a play. You remember that, right? But like, I was open, and some guys, some of these veteran guys are like, I think he was supposed to be looking at me, and he didn't come in my direction. And I don't think it's by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not telling you that people are pointing fingers. I just think like,
oh, no.
He decided something, and they were like, if you'd come off it, you would have seen me, and we would have had this completion. So that's, there's a couple little things that have popped up in his game the last few weeks, and that's one of them.
All fair. Again, I think that commentary is something you could apply to most quarterbacks most weeks, and that's not the difference for me Sunday. Like, again, you get into a shootout. Let's say they do play, they will play Josh Allen again, but you play Mahomes later. Baker Mayfield has a good game on Sunday. Those plays that you're talking about could be the difference in the game. The difference in this game, the defining play for him for a stretch, was the strip sack right before halftime. And just because it changed the complexion of the game. Again, we're going, if they go down and march for on that 2-minute drill and get a touchdown, it's 28-7, and the Falcons have to throw. Bijan Robinson is not a factor as a runner whatsoever. Granted, the Falcons finished with a 74% pass rate, but I digress. Once that happens, not only does he have 6 fumbles, which is second most in the league, any player, any position, that invites the Falcons back into this and almost lets them come back, in fact, to win the game. That sack, as much as that particular sack was not his fault, it was Mike Onwenu's for not picking up stun, and I don't know what he and Morgan Moses have to do. I don't know if you have to go to therapy, or you need to go to church, or you need to just do the drills over and over again until you pick up those stunts that you keep giving up. Just do it. Drake Maye is taking sacks at the second highest rate in the league when he's pressured. It's Cam Ward, who when he feels pressure, goes down about 28% of the time. Drake Maye's at 27.4%. And the reason that's important is because that stat, pressure to sack rate, is not something I invented or not something that the nerds just came up and wanted to discuss one day. It's a real thing that says when you're playing quarterback and you have the fate of the team in your hands, as you do every snap, how often do you let bad situations, pressure, get worse? Sacks. He's doing that and overcoming himself in these situations. Is the best quarterback on third down, pick a measurement, coverage, I don't care. But that over time is going to make him pay, as will the 34 sacks. And so to me, that's the thing that I look at in addition to the fumbles, because they really go hand in hand, that they have to fix and look to address. There's a lot of good stuff, but to me, that was the big thing about this game where you're going, that's a pattern going down when you see pressure and sometimes losing the ball. For a team that's got big playoff hopes, you just have to cut that out.
Well, you referenced the fumble and sort of things being different after that. In his post game, he was talking about we have to handle adversity better. And to me, he said we, but he meant me.
Yeah.
And I think it was that very point, because I think he did go into a little bit of a shell after that. Like between that and the interception, it was kind of like, uh-oh, like I'm messing this up for us. And meanwhile, it's like, no, short memory, kid, keep going out there, be yourself, find your form, find that vibe again, and do what you do. And it took him a little while to sort of rediscover that. And even then, he didn't rediscover it consistently for the rest of the game. So talked to Garrett Bradbury today, and we talked to him, you and I both talked to him after the game. And he was talking about the number of sacks. And he's like, well, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you like they weren't all on the offensive line. They weren't all on the quarterback. There's a lot of things that go into this. Guy's not getting open. You see a couple times where Drake's waiting for something to happen. It doesn't happen now. Oh crap. It's kind of too late. The red zone sack on the opening drive of the third quarter, where they're on the 6 or 7 yard line. He takes the 9-yard sack. They have to kick the field goal there. He wanted Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams didn't uncover, and there wasn't much else over there. And by the time he sort of recalibrated, there was a couple of Drew Bledsoe pats. It was, and now he's down, so got to get rid of the ball quicker there, get out of the pocket quicker, get off that, because it's not opening up fast enough. Whatever the case may be, whatever their teaching points, that's got to happen because I don't know how many you figure. I figured at least 2, and I maybe could argue 3 of the sacks were on.
I put 3.
Yeah, primarily on Drake.
Yeah.
And that's, can you eliminate 2 of those 3? Can you just throw it away? Like, I think the other part is, and he talked about this last week, about, waking up on Monday morning doesn't feel awesome when you get hit this much. And he's now been sacked. I busted out this stat yesterday during the game. He's been sacked 4 more times than 11 of his 21 career starts. And okay, you can say last year it was a historic combination of the very basic boys regular haircut offense that Alex Van Pelt was running, an offensive line that half the guys don't play in the league anymore. Like, there's all these different things that went into it. And obviously a receiving core that wasn't very good or very mature. And I'm a kid and I'm learning. So there's going to be some of these moments. Well, maybe the line's not as good as some of the metrics say it is, but it's not anything like last year. And the receiver room is not anything like last year. It's better. It's not great, but it's better. And you're just gaining experience, and he's got to manage it a little bit better.
Okay, so I said C+, and we just made it sound like a D. So let's pull this around, because
I saw the first half. I thought he was ripping it in the first half.
He absolutely was. He was killing it. There were some of the pat, and you and I are watching, high corner of Gillette and going, he's staring someone down, and then took a sack instead. I don't know what's happening, but you win. You're up 21-7. What do I care about that? He again was exceptionally accurate. The completion percentage over expectation was 5.3% higher than it should have been based on the difficulty of the throw. So he's still really accurate. Again, protecting the football, we've covered this. You can fix it. It's going to take drill work and awareness. He's 23. So anyone think we're coming down on a kid that we anointed as the midseason MVP a week ago needs to go back and listen to that, or listen to me now. 19-29, 259, 2 touchdowns, 20 rushing yards. He faced a lot of blitz pressure. Okay, that's going to take a toll. Patriots really didn't do a great job with that blitz pressure, but he spread the ball around, 7 different receivers. He never looked that confused. He ID'd coverage well. And to me, when Keyshawn Boutte leaves the game and you're not really allowed to run a lot of play action because of that blitz pressure, and Josh McDaniels doesn't trust TreVeyon Henderson and Terrell Jennings in blitz pickup, the access to that deep passing game, which is the best thing that he does, and for a guy who does everything well, is that water just gets shut off, and that's going to affect you. So he was only 2 of 5 for 79 yards on those deeper throws. You don't have your best target. You're not in great situations. I don't blame him for that. So look, the couple snaps where he's gun shy or missed open guys, the fumble, the pick, that aside, it's a big that. This was good tape. Not a great game, not a good game, but a passing performance, no question. And to answer my own question 10 minutes ago, part of the reason they won.
Yeah, definitely part of the reason they won. And I hate that we have to do these disclaimers because we write and talk and we're on TV and radio and podcast and do these different things. Like, if you've been paying any attention to what we said about Drake, like, I feel like I shouldn't have to preface some of this stuff. Like, he's been ridiculous. Like, again, it's gotten so much better, so much faster than anyone expected. I think I remember talking at the beginning of the year being like, if he finishes the year as like the 13th or 14th best quarterback from where he starts, which was right around, I had him around 2021, like when the year started, and you're like, there's going to be some growth. But if he gets there, like, that's a great sign. Well, he's an MVP candidate. He's a legit MVP candidate. So like he came from 21, 22 to 2, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that range, So we're gonna pick, because we've seen him at his best, or at his best to this point in his career. And when he's not there, then you're gonna be like, okay, well, why wasn't he there? What didn't happen? But some of the throws, the ball he ripped to Diggs,
yes,
against
cross-field hash, deep out, just ridiculous.
Yeah, like, I mean, there are a bunch of NFL arms that can make that throw, but they can make that throw 1 out of every 5, 1 out of every 6, 1 out of every 7. He makes that throw fairly consistently.
That was over a flat defender who said F it. The F and flat for that defender was for F it, and he just dropped back knowing Maye was going to throw that to the whole shot, and Maye got it there anyway. And also, look, the matchup was what it was. Demario Douglas on Jalen Walker on that wheel route touchdown could not have put that ball in a better spot. Like, absolutely dropped it in the bucket. So yeah, those throws are there. And I'm glad you brought that up. It's not because, I'm afraid of people getting mad at my mentions who have not listened to the whole pod and just joined and hear this talk about Drake. Those throws deserve mentioning, full stop. I don't have much more on him. I don't know what to expect in Tampa just because that's a good defense with a defensive mind in Todd Bowles, who James White has said on the show, look, that dude gave me more problems than Bills pick up. And again, this is James White, future Patriots Hall of Famer, who made a living initially out of catching the football and picking up blitzes, saying Todd Bowles was a pain in my ass. I don't know how it'll go Sunday. We got a lot of time till Sunday, but look, there's more good here than bad, more than average, and that's just where you are. It's a testament to what he's done so far this season that we talk about him like this now.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's almost like you've changed the level of expectation as a team and as a player, and so now there's a little bit more you're picking, as you mentioned at the top. Like, these are 3 issues that we talked about at the beginning of the show. Like, if you're going to be what there is potential for you to be this year, how do you fix these things? How do you clean these up? How do you at least make something that hasn't been good, at least average, league average, like do something like that? And that's a testament to what he and they have done through the first 9 weeks of the season.
Okay. I want to go through what they did on offense real quickly, then we'll get to what people missed on offense besides from Drake Maye. Spent a lot of time on Drake Maye. Josh McDaniels should take Jack Westover out for a nice, friendly Sunday up Route 1, right next to the Chipotle, where honestly, folks, you could find me about 3 days a week. Whenever I'm down at Gillette, I'm stopping there on my way home or my way in. There's a Friendlies that I really should go to more because I'd probably run into Jack Westover if Josh McDaniels does his job. That man was on the field for 34% of the snaps. Actually, more than that. Give me 42% of the snaps. And what happened in those snaps, Patriots had a 52% success rate. Here we go, success rate.
Hey.
From 21 personnel, 60% when they were in 22. This was a bully ball game plan where McDaniels had multiple backs and or tight ends on 58% of their snaps. And that sounds like, hey, we're going to run it down your throat. Like when he sees the Bills and says, I'm just going to shove this up your ass and good luck. They ended up throwing the ball a lot more, and especially from 21 personnel than you would expect. What they wanted was Atlanta's base defense, which is banged up. Spread them out. You got one snap, a Hoss wide juke, everyone's favorite pass play. But when they ran the ball, it was power, it was counter, a lot of duo, which is to say, we know your defensive front is small. We're going to use a fullback. We're going to come at you. And then when we spread you out, we're going to kind of play matchup ball. Now, the blitzing did give them some issues because when you play a 5-down front like Atlanta did, and you're the Patriots, you want to get double teams, you can't really do that because if you don't block one, you double one guy, you're going to give another down lineman a free run. But between that and the blitzing, I thought Josh called a very patient game, and you had basic issues like, what was it, the first drive of the second half? Because obviously you get 21 points in the first half. It's a very well-called game. They get down there in the red zone, sack on second down, and it's going to kill a drive. Next, you had the pick. Then you had the Diggs crosser that we just talked about. He nails in the whole shot. But then there's an 8-yard loss on a toss to the left. So, it was small stuff that killed them in the second half, but I thought the overall idea of this game plan was really well pieced together. It's just the Falcons are a good defense. And ultimately, though, when he had to make a call in the second half to get that 3rd and 6, I think it was, or 3rd and 5?
3rd and 5, yeah.
3rd and 5. The Atlanta had all but given up on man-to-man coverage in the second half. But in that instance, they come with a man blitz, and he is ready with the perfect call to Hunter Henry, who had 4 catches, all for first downs, including that last one. We all saw him slide in bounds. Just really well called and executed without play action, just one screen. This was what can I do to help you downfield for Drake? And the receivers, coaches get you open versus zone. You got to do it versus man. They played a lot of zone, and for the most part, I think McDaniels did his job.
I wanted to bring up, you highlighted the minus 8-yard run. There was a misdirection run that they've had some success with the last couple of weeks. Little pitch out to Trevion. That play was there. Mac Hollins and Will Campbell collided, and it took Hollins off his guy, and that was the guy who made the play. But if you look outside of it, Campbell gets out in front of it. I think it was Kyle Williams as the receiver there doing a good job in a stock block. It was like, had they just not had that collision and Hollins been able to hold that block, or he didn't even really get a good block on him, but get a piece of him, that maybe that play actually hits. And it's interesting. I think they had 7 negative plays in the game. I think 6 of them came on first downs, which again, you're talking about having to overcome some of those things. And Drake's been able to do that at a high rate this year. But again, better defenses that you play against, there's a little bit more of a challenge there. And then when you lose someone like Booty, who again, way more valuable to this offense. You ate crow. I've given up. He's, he's really important to what they do. You see him out of the game, and it's like stuff changed, and it didn't change the part because he wasn't there anymore. So, I thought Josh did a good job of essentially having to work around Kyle at receiver, which I'm sure we'll hit at some point.
Yeah, and again, the blitz pickup piece is a big one. Doug made a great point on this show last week of like, how does that change when you don't trust your running backs in blitz pickup? And Trayvon Henderson had 8 pass blocking snaps. Again, for an offense that threw the ball, I think their pass rate ended up around 60%, which was surprising, given Atlanta's not good at the ground, and you played so much out of these, 12 personnel. As one snap of 13, which I'm going to mention in a second before I forget. It's Kairos Tonga. If I'm doing the episode later this week, he might be on with us. I think he played and called a good game, managed it well. I didn't have many complaints here. It's just, I don't know. I guess it considering the way that Drake played, this is probably as good as you could have done. And they made enough winning plays. I'm just thinking to myself, look, if Parker Romo makes that extra point and Penix doesn't have the ball snapped into his stomach before he's ready, what am I saying about Josh McDaniels otherwise? I know I would highlight the opening drive where they had 5 different personnel groupings in the first 6 snaps. Hey, Jeff Ulbrich, I know you missed me when I used to be in the AFC East and you used to coach for the Jets. Get a load of this. And motion, and they're an empty, and they're under center, and then they're gun, and they have Demario Douglas in the backfield. Kairos Tonga, by the way, that 3rd and 1, did not recognize the defensive front that Atlanta was playing. Had not practiced against it all week. And he just goes in there, bleep up, and smashes Jared Wilson's guy. Jared Wilson cackling, by the way, when I asked him about this in the locker room after. Because I was so excited. Tonga! I just go in the locker room and I see him, I go, Tonga! Anyway, just a good game plan. I like the opening script the most. And it's not because the rest of the game stunk, but that more Kairos Tonga, I guess, is my takeaway. That's on the game plan piece of this.
How many times did you watch that play over? 15, 16?
It might have gotten to 10.
Are you going to be allowed to do? Are you going to wait? Is this going to be one of those situations where you're actually not allowed to interview Tonga because you're going to have the little police order from the judge? You've got to stay 500 feet away from this guy.
I mean, if Gunnar Olszewski could not secure one of those orders against me for my 2nd year, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Kalen Jason's been on the show. We talked about him more in this podcast than I think is talked about in his household. So no, I think I'm safe. I know how to get around these things.
Yeah. And quickly, like the interception, Hunter and Drake weren't on the same page.
Yeah.
It's a good call. It's the same call that they ran last week with Austin Hooper 2 weeks ago against the Browns for the big gain. Drake obviously thought he was going to stay up the seam. Hunter thought he needed to go to the post and threw the ball into no man's land. And as you do that against Jesse Bates, he invariably will pick it off. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the players. I mentioned a while ago, Falcons had a 50% pressure rate. Not good. No. Even worse, this has now been 2 weeks in a row. And this is not as much as we talked about Drake holding onto the ball too long, and I had him at fault on 3 sacks. Every single offensive lineman I had down for multiple pressures allowed. Trayvon Henderson as well. I had him for a quarterback hit and 2 hurries. Morgan Moses, 3 hurries. Mike Onwenu, a sack and a quarterback hit. Will Campbell, sack in a hurry. Jared Wilson, quarterback hit in a hurry. Garrett Bradbury, 2 hurries, but some other reps that you're going, ugh. This is more what we expected from this offensive line. I don't know if they are coming down to earth because you would expect an offensive line with so many new faces and so much youth to get better as the season goes along. And maybe it's just a function of Myles Garrett 1 week and the team that loves to blitz more than any other team in the league the next week. But you're going to face good teams who are built in good pass rushers. And now I'm not as sure as I once was how they'll hold up because, again, half of the dropbacks that Drake Maye has had the last 2 weeks, he has felt pressure. Some of it's his fault, but not most of it, and certainly not all of it.
And that number is crazy, right? Because generally anything over 40% a pressure rate, you lose more of those than you win. And the higher that number climbs, the more the L's stack up and the more the wins go away. And they're winning these games, but it does give you a little bit of a feel of like you're flirting with disaster here. And to a certain degree, obviously flirted with disaster against Atlanta, and Romo doesn't miss the extra point. Who knows? But so that's something that definitely needs to be cleaned up. Garrett, obviously, we've talked about him so many times being clean. when you said like power, he was getting driven back on several occasions right into Drake's feet. Morgan got undressed by a filthy spin move by Arnold Ebiketie. Did I say that right?
I looked this up today so we could say it in the pod. Ebiketie.
Ebiketie. That's right. Bingo. Can I tell you, I had to say his name at the draft when they drafted him because that was my previous life. And I think I practiced for like 2 hours because I was like, I know they want this guy and it's going to come up on my watch and I've got to be able to say it. And I was like, you can't screw that up. So it was like phonetically spelled out, kept doing it. Yeah. Unbelievable.
So they should have just called me instead.
Bingo. They could, well, I mean, and they still may, you never know. Also, just as a quick aside, Jalen Walker.
Really good.
Good football player.
Yeah. Okay. Look, people know what happened, why they won, all that different stuff. I want to zip through my offensive notes here.
Yeah, shoot.
We talked about the offensive line, blitz pickup, Henderson. I got a little bit of pushback when I mentioned this to someone within the team, by the way, saying he was better. He's still lunging a little bit too much. But, like, look, when Caden Ellis is just barreling into you, you're going to give up ground. I was shocked that it was 5 yards, but this happens. Demario Douglas, awesome game. I am so glad that the Demario Douglas that you saw in the summer, that I saw in the summer, that I was talking about on the pod this summer as being the best target, most consistent receiver, when they're weaponizing downfield, was finally look like that player. First 100-yard game. And it's crazy because I had to look at this 3 times. He only played 16 snaps.
Yeah.
And that was because, again, the personnel that they used, 58% of the snaps, multiple tight ends, multiple running backs, which means you're not playing with any more than 2 wide receivers. But the point is, we talk about Kayshon Boutte being lost, and maybe it's just a game. Maybe it's 2 games. I don't know. They do have 2 games coming up for the next 11 days. Him being a threat downfield is big, and not just because, he can get there, but from the slot especially gives you more confidence and puts defenses at unease more than before. Jack Westover, we already talked about him. But look, he had a lot of crushing blocks. He really had an impact. That 3-yard touchdown run Terrell Jennings had, him and Will Campbell.
Yep.
Just could have moved a boulder there. Campbell's run blocking, I thought, was better, aside from running into Matt Collins. You've talked about that a lot, slipping off of blocks, not happening. Hunter Henry, who's going to get the praise that everyone listening to this wants him to get. Here it is.
Yeah.
Excellent at the top of the routes, which I know is an emphasis for the receivers and their tight ends this week. He had 4 catches, again, all for first downs. Austin Hooper, I thought, run blocked a little bit better. There was one outside zone play in the second half, and he, it might have been Ebiketie who kind of turned. Actually, it wasn't, but turned him back. It got stuffed. But Hunter Henry, as reliable as they come. Look, I like talking to the dude. He's been on the pod a couple of times, but he had a really, really good game. Last 2 things, because I already talked about Tonga, and I will show some self-restraint, not talk about him again. Not a lot to write home about for Kyle Williams and Efton Chisholm. Kyle Williams played 31 snaps. Efton Chisholm played 4. Williams' only target was at slant late in the game. May threw up behind him. You would know better than me. I couldn't tell if he took 1 extra step.
Bingo.
Or if May just missed him. My thought was the first step, but I can't prove it. And I'd have to ask him about him Wednesday. So that's where I'm at. Those are my notes.
Yeah, ran the same play earlier, 3-step. He took the extra step. I think that's the difference right there. But 31 snaps is a lot. Even if there was a lot for love of the game routes, 31 snaps is a lot of snaps to be out there and not come close to having a football in your hands, So the Kayshon Boutte thing, I mean, Vrabel told us at the Monday press conference, like, he's definitely not going to be practicing at the beginning of the week. And as you mentioned, with the 2 games in such a short time, you do wonder if this might be getting a little ahead of myself, but you might be wonder if this is a 2-game absence, and then you'll see where it's at after that. Westover, you have to give a ton of credit to. I joked to him after the game. I was like, "You're going to be sore tomorrow." And he's like, "I'll be fine." I'm like, "Well, I didn't mean like you couldn't handle it. I just mean you haven't played that much football in a long time." And he did a terrific job. Vrabel was actually talking about him today, saying, like much what you said about Tonga, like, it's never how you draw. Like, you can draw it up in a practice field. You can have guys simulated. But when the game happens, rarely is it ever exactly as you marked out. And Westover has learned, and he's getting better at it. And I'll tell you already, he's one of my studs. I just thought he did a really good job, and thought he was the 52nd or 53rd man on the roster, and he's carved out a good role for himself.
Yeah, I wrote, and you could find this still somewhere. They needed a more physical player there. I didn't believe in him as a starting caliber fullback in the NFL, and there aren't many of them, which isn't to say it's a low bar, but I thought whatever the bar is, he's not clearing it, and it's also not his natural position. He was their starting tight end for a while when Henry and Hooper were out in training camp, but I'm just going, this ain't it. His time is coming. I was wrong. His time has come in the good way. There's also something to be said, though, and I don't look. I would ask McDaniels on this on Thursday, but we get limited time with him. It'll be 5 days later, 4 days later, and it serves no one but me. Which is when you don't ask those questions that are just for you and your curiosities. You ask questions for other people who read you or listen to you. But if I get to pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, Josh, you ran so much two-back against this team, and not even when you were just in two-back personnel, but motioning." Someone in the backfield or using Hollins as an insert blocker. What was the thinking there? Because was it Atlanta struggled? Like, not a lot of defenses are defending two back concepts, which everyone, whatever defense you're in, you have rules for one back formations and two back formations. Maybe it was how much 5 down they played. And that, look, you win those 5-on-5s, your offensive line versus their defensive line. You have an extra guy come through, you get to the second level, you're gone.
Right.
But it was just, there was so much two back here in what's become a one back league. I was just curious. That's all.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Do you think Cooper got hurt, by the way? Because we did see more Westover in some tight end stuff.
It's a good question.
I wondered, and so when I was rewatching the game today, I was looking for something from Hooper. He did get bent over backwards on a play. I want to say it was down by the goal line, but I could be blurring the plays, where there was the camera cut away, but it felt like he was getting up a little bit slower. Sort of similar to Christian Ellis, where he hurt the hip. And I don't know defense. I'm jumping to defense here, but he actually went down on the PAT after the second touchdown, and it was no contact. So I don't know if he was hurt before, and when he tried to push off, it just said, "No, we're not doing this." They listed it as a hip, or if it actually happened on that play, but just something to kind of monitor.
Christian Ellis walking in the locker room after the game, by the way, in sweats, hanging out, saw him, didn't get a chance to stop him. Maybe he was numb from, I don't know, some shot, or just the high of beating his brother, Caden, who, again, picked up Travion Henderson like a small child and drove him backwards 5 yards.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was good enough to walk and be around, and we'll see about this week. Yeah, I don't know about Hooper. I didn't see him after the game in the locker room, so
I didn't either.
That's about all that I have there. But look, I want to break my own rule. If he goes down, you have another tight end. He just wears 95 and plays defensive tackle. Okay, speaking of defense, their game plan was this. We are going to spook you out of running the ball, knowing you don't really want to do this. You're not very good at it anyway, and we're really good at stopping the run. They did this by playing base personnel when Atlanta went 3 wide receivers early in the game, which you don't really see a whole lot. Because it's a tip. You're in zone coverage. Patriots said, that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine. We play a lot of zone. And Atlanta said, oh, that's no good. So Bijan Robinson does touch the ball 20 times. But it was almost a 50-50 split between his touches or targets as a receiver and his handoffs. They gained 3.7 yards per carry on designed runs and ran just 26% of the time. That's a win when you're talking about one of the best running backs in the league. Now, part of that was also blitzing a lot on first down. 6 of their 12 blitzes were on first down. And that says, hey, if they run, we got numbers. This is great. If not, maybe we catch Penix with his back turned to us on a play action throw, and we'll be able to get him that way. Or, as Penix showed, I'll kill you, because they had a 50% success rate against the blitz, only 5.5 yards per play, but 3 touchdowns. So that's obviously not what Zach Core wanted, the banquet coach, when he drew up this game plan. Here's the last piece of it. Christian Gonzalez did shadow Drake London more than he has shadowed any receiver since last season. And I would say they kind of played each other to a draw. Drake London got 3 catches for 67 yards, 2 against off coverage. But look, Christian Gonzalez says I should have stopped that. I'm not one to argue with him. Mm-hmm. He also had 2 pass breakups, including one that forced a turnover and down. That's good. And then give up the 40-yarder deep down the sideline. I say they played each other to a draw despite 67 yards, because what happened after Gonzalez left was 3 catches for 44 yards in a touchdown in 7.5 minutes. So imagine where the Patriots would be were it not for Christian Gonzalez, at least discouraging Michael Penix briefly, occasionally, sometimes, from throwing at his best receiver. Aside from that, where he, again, shadowed a man in zone, they played a lot of inverted cover 2 and some quarters, which, like, look, they played quarters, but it was because we'll leave the middle of the field open because we know you're not going to throw it there. Michael Penix, famous for just he just has a block in his vision that says, what middle of the field? What are you talking about?
Staggering. You know, I think it was a wheel route to Bijan Robinson down the Patriots sideline where Robinson had no idea where the ball was.
Yes.
I remember it was about 35 yards down the field.
Pressure.
And like he never even like, and then when it was over, he was kind of just like how he had, I think it was Kyle Pitts breaking across the middle of the field and like, I don't know, 3 or 4 yards of separation. Like Kyle Pitts might still be running. And he never even thought about it. And talk about body language. Pitts was clearly like, what the bleep? And especially when you see the pass go about 7 yards out of bounds, too. It wasn't even, not only did Bijan not see it, he would never have had a chance to catch it anyways. But it's staggering that and he can't figure out this part against this team with the way this team defends the middle of the field. That is the place you want to go. And they did not go there at all.
No. That was pretty much it for their game plan. Again, they played about a 2-to-1 ratio zone to man. Like, depends on how you chart some of the man or the match stuff in the red zone where you get different rules in red 7, and we don't have to go into all that. But again, it was a higher rate of man than normal, a 30% blitz rate. Again, when they got burned on the blitz, they got burned on the blitz. But they spun the dial on Penix, got lucky late. When Gonzalez left, they were in real trouble. And that's also partly because of the pass rush, which we hit on at the beginning. And look, I always do the thing where like, no offense to PFF, but offense to PFF. I don't know if Milt Williams' mom got to be employee of the day charting this game. He had 7 pressures. I felt generous at 5, and Milt Williams had a good game. Don't get me wrong. Like, this was a good Milt Williams game. 7 pressures, though, I have no idea where those came from. Nobody else had more than 2. Granted, Chase on had 2 with a sack, Harold Landry, Christian Ellis, and then a smattering here and there. But if they want to be the defense that they think they're capable of being, they need more from the pass rush. And to me, that's as much the story, especially in that blitz on the 4th down when Penix hits London for what should have been a game-tying touchdown. I mean, Marcus Jones was coming from Walpole because it was just too far back. But aside from that, like, you got to win your one-on-ones, and the guys aren't doing that, which is why you and I want them to trade for another edge rusher.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you had. I only have them down for they only caused 2 negative plays. There was the chase on sack, which is the first quarter, and the chase on blowing up that run play also in the first quarter. So then you had essentially 3.5 quarters, because that was fairly early on, 3.5 quarters of no negative plays. Like, it's a tough way to live, even with an offense that, as I said, I don't feel is very well coordinated or very well focused, and it causes problems. They've got to do a better job of affecting the quarterback. They just have to.
Okay, let's repeat ourselves some more. The man covered stuff in the red zone.
Ugh.
Well, listen, let's hit pause for a second. This is partly why you listen to this podcast on Monday nights. We were talking about these rules and why opponents are going to look at this, and this could be a problem for the Patriots, dating back to the Buffalo game where we all celebrated and we anointed Drake Maye, and we said this is a reason to believe in the Patriots, and we meant every single word of it. Because we do every little thing in the show and break down all of the film, we also told you that the Bills knew that they were going to push their man coverage assignments, meaning as soon as one receiver goes in motion, and let's say it's you go in motion, and I have you, I'm not going to follow you all the way across the formation. The guy next to me is going to take you however far that you go, and then I'll take your guy.
Yep.
Or his guy. And that's how this goes. We just push our assignments one over until the guy furthest away gets the man in motion. And this allowed Atlanta to throw to Drake London on Marcus Jones for that first touchdown. And look, there are choices and trade-offs to be made with all these different coverage. It's not saying, oh, you idiots, why didn't you just lock Christian Gonzalez on Drake Maye? Or, excuse me, Drake London. But because then you leave yourself at risk for pick plays. And you don't want to do that because it's very bang-bang in the red zone. But when you've showed something and you've given it up, as we just documented, I would change up those rules. I would want Christian Gonzalez and Drake London no matter what. The second touchdown, though, and I'll say this part quickly, I have to believe that was a combination coverage where they had special rules designed for that, because I just cannot believe when they had a 3-man bunch to the right and initially before the motion, Marcus Jones looks locked as the point man, meaning you are the one across from the receiver who's at the top, the guy in the middle, who's closest to the line of scrimmage, flanked by receivers to his left and his right. If you got the middle guy, you're the point man. They motion the guy in the innermost slot away. Marcus Jones doesn't move. So they're not pushing exactly. But whatever it was not straight man. It wasn't inside out banjo. And whatever it was did not work because they ran Drake London in a really smart route combination away. Marcus competed his ass off, did as well as he could have. And this is not lip service. It's not a token. Thanks for coming out. It's just to say that, look, man, they schemed their way to 2 touchdowns in good matchups. And if you want to beat good teams down the road, we're going to look at the same tape and have the same ideas. You got to fix it.
Yeah. And, Marcus has made some of those plays. You famously made one against Keon Coleman down the sidelines in the Bills game. Wasn't the red area, it was about the 25-yard line. And you're like, oh, that guy's 6'4", 6'5". He's a jumper. Drake London's a different kind of animal when the ball's in the air. Keon's a little soft, quite frankly. Steve Smith just absolutely ravished him in his podcast this past week because, he ain't it. He ain't never going to be it. That's an early second-round pick who the Patriots, depending on who you believe, may have had interest in. May have at that time.
Trading up into the first round.
Yes. So consider yourself lucky that didn't happen, although they ended up trading out of McConkey and Polk, and we know the whole thing. But as much as I trust that player, when you're giving up that much size against an alpha like that, I'm sorry, more often than not, if the quarterback puts the ball anywhere up, you're not going to win on a consistent basis doing that. And teams are going to continue to try to probe this and see how can we get those matchups where our big guy is on their little guy. Even if their little guy is the AFC Defensive Player of the Month, we'll take our chances on him versus Gonzalez or even to some extent on the other side, Carlton Davis.
Yeah, and Carlton Davis had him a man-to-man and just gave it up because Drake London is better than Carlton Davis. And it was a great play, and you got to tip your hat. But the scheme stuff, and they did start to lock a little bit more or follow in the second half. It wasn't always because, again, there are benefits to pushing the man assignments, right? You get to keep your leverage against a guy in motion now, especially as teams use cheat motion, meaning you're going in motion laterally at the snap and you already have a head start and you're going upfield. You get to maintain a disguise. If you are not following all the way across, you can keep a zone defense, or you might still be in man. The defense or the offense doesn't know that. But in this instance, in that particular area, I just want my best receiver or my best corner on your best receiver, no matter the cost. And that didn't happen, and to learn from it, and that's it. Go back to the pass rush. Nolan Williams, great game. The man next to him did not have a great game. No pressures for me for Christian Barmore. PFF didn't have this. You had none too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of it. Just a bad game. Guys have bad games, but again, when you're dealing with this kind of thin margin, going to rush for a whole lot and having issues otherwise with your pass rush, that dude has to come through, and he didn't.
Well, as we sit here and talk about, we want them to add another pass rusher, and most likely on the edge, right? The money is invested in the middle. Williams is pretty much on a consistent basis giving you stuff out of that. Christian had been for four games probably, even with the benching in the first quarter for undisclosed reasons. But this was not that at all. Just incredibly quiet. Not even some of the two-man game stuff that he's been so good at, setting picks for people. Nothing was happening. He did not look to have the same sort of juice that he had in previous games, and they did a good job on him as well. They got to tip their cap to them as well. But they need if nothing happens here, or even if they do add an R and key for the pass rush to become good, it's going to be triggered by the two guys in the middle. It's going to be triggered by Williams and Barmore at the same time.
Robert Spillane has been on a heater. I think he cooled Sunday. I think he had a coverage bust inside the red zone for a second straight week. And the first one was that touchdown that the Browns got in their opening drive. This was just my assignment's Bijan Robinson, and I'm just going to kind of stare at the quarterback. And I'm again, maybe there was a check. I don't know. I haven't asked him. But everyone else looked like they were playing cover one, and he was playing his own Robert Spillane defense, and it just didn't work. Harold Landry, though, just a stud. I don't know. Look, I understand he's not up there with the elite edge rushers. He's an elite run defender. His effort is unmatched or second to none across the league. And that's pursuit plays. It's when he's at the point of attack. It's when he's being double teamed, whatever it is. He's not quitting. And he's probably playing through something right now. So to have 2 pressures, even though we're complaining about their pressure rate, really good game from him. Chason just burst out of a cannon for that first quarter. Sack, a hurry, the tackle for loss. Falcons did hit their longest run, though, going at him when they ran counter in his direction. And the Patriots have been more mindful of getting him off the field on early downs because he's their worst run defender, maybe all positions considered. And it's just not his game. Tavai plays in his place. Anthony Jennings, we saw some in base defense, and he's not on the field. It's something they're just going to have to kind of juggle. Last couple of notes for me, because if we want to get to questions. Jack Gibbons replaced Christian Ellis. Christian Ellis had 2 pressures. Really liked that for him in pass coverage. Yeah. PFF hammered him. I didn't really get that. I didn't have much of an issue with him. Del Pettis, gold star. 1 snap. The only snap at dime they played all game. It was in the red zone. Fade ball to Kyle Pitts. He knocks it away. Good job for him. And then the tackling. Only 2 missed tackles. So for a team that, again, sucked at tackling first 2-3 weeks of the season, you play Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts, and you only whiff twice in 58 snaps, maybe close to 60 with penalties. Mm-hmm. That's a great job.
You want to talk about where you find a coaching advantage, and I said that to me was we could talk about all the little things that went into winning and losing, but that to me was the major. Your coaches were better than theirs. Your plan was better than theirs. Del Pettis said that he knew what play they were running. They practiced it, worked on it, and so he was, not shocked that this is what they're going to do. They did it. I'm ready for it, and he makes a play. So, good on the details there by the player and by the team for understanding this is something that they like to do in that area. Jack Gibbons, nice job on the he plastered himself to Bijan Robinson on the last drive. They wanted to get a little dump down, and he sniffed it, was on it, and forced Penix to look like crap. Which, by the way, you said you're into him more. He made some weird, weird reactions to non-pressure situations. I'm not talking the intentional grounding. There were a couple other ones where it was just like, I think it was the first drive. He threw the ball like kind of half-assed to the right to Bijan, and he was acting like there was pressure and there wasn't pressure. He did it again later in the game where it's just like, get rid of it. I'm like, dude, did you see a ghost? Because there ain't nobody around you. So anyway, give Gibbons credit for that. Marcus Jones gets beat for the 2 touchdowns. Marcus Jones in run support.
Dog.
Like, I toyed with the idea of putting him as a stud because he is freaking in everything. Making tackles. He whiffed once on Bijan, or Bijan ran through him. He didn't whiff. He hit him, and Bijan bounced off him because Bijan's a horse. But, like, by and large, just launching himself headlong into those run plays and making stops 2-3 yards down the field. Like, he is – I don't know if his body can hold up for 17 games in a postseason if he plays like this, but, boy, through 9 games, he's done a hell of a job.
I'm glad you brought up Marcus Jones because there's one other play I wanted to mention for the folks who are sickos, who are typically listening to this podcast this deep in as we go into the defensive notes of a game that you didn't really love about the defense, but they were screwed with field position a couple of times. He charged into Kyle Pitts, who, for God knows what reason, I think it's third quarter. I have to find it in my notes because there was like a bubble or a swing screen, or there was just something in his direction. And he puts his helmet and Kyle Pitts' belly button. He's not doing the inverse of kind of like the chop block. I'm just trying to get you down. Just can't do anymore. But Kyle Pitts was so offended that Marcus Jones wanted to put his helmet in his belly button and like drive him back and blow up this block. He was complaining to the refs about it after the fact. He was being pissy that Marcus Jones was doing his job and trying to blow up that play, which he did, by the way. Kyle Pitts is not a tight end. And I say that understanding and respecting the athleticism, the rare talent, this and that. I have less interest in him as a player than I did before I watched that game. It was just gross anytime he had to block or pretend to.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, so this is sort of reminds me of the Gesicki year with the Patriots where they kept running behind Mike Gesicki. And you're like, this is not what he does. And I get like, we talk about like when you're running plays that aren't going to go anywhere because you're setting something up off it. So I get that. but they were continually trying to run behind Kyle Pitts, and he has no business.
No.
And he not only has he no business, he doesn't want any business. He doesn't want to do it. So it's Zach Robinson to the sun. Oh, you muted yourself. Still muted. This is the thing.
Okay.
You're still muted. He's befuddled. This happens to him. He has a very sensitive cable.
Stop. Yes, it's very sensitive.
You know what? Clip that.
What studs and duds. Don't put me on the list.
Studs.
Actually,
Milton Williams.
I'm a dud.
Milton Williams, Pop, Westover. I'm going to give Terrell Jennings because he had a couple of really nice physical runs, a couple dirty runs. And then the other stuff, there wasn't much there and he wasn't getting blown up. He was still finding a way to get a yard or two. And again, maybe you're saying it's a low bar, but Ramondre had done this the last week too, where you look at it in retrospect and you're like, he only had 34 yards rushing. And I think Terrell only had 26, was it 28, something like that. But there was a lot of good, hard yards in there that he turned what should have been a negative play or a zero into a positive. And, not going to stop me from still looking for a running back here in the next 12 hours, but good for him. First career touchdown too. He worked for it. He earned it.
Yep.
And I would put Drake in there just because he's part of the reason why you won the game, even if it wasn't his best game.
Man. So I can't give him a C+ and call him a stud.
I think he can.
Okay.
I think he should.
Okay. I had Milton. I had Pop. Westover for sure made the list. Hunter Henry too. Just again, reliable, trusted.
Yep.
Blocking wasn't as good as Hooper. Whatever. You were there in big moments. First two catches were both in third down. You converted, beat man and beat zone. Just a really good heady player. And Del Pettis. I'm sorry. I don't know how much we'll mention him again because the Patriots just don't play three safety personnel. So it's Jalen Hawkins and Craig Woodson, and that's it. But that dude shows up like he did. Yeah. Gold star for you. Stud for you. Duds.
Barmore. Pass rush as in general. Can't 20 whatever percent it was. That you gotta up that number. Mike and Wenu. Just the two stunts that got passed off incorrectly. They blew right by him. Obviously, one was the big fumble that helped turn the game. And then we talked about him, Kyle Williams, 31 snaps. They weren't all pass plays, but the one ball that gets thrown to you didn't run the route properly. So we could be seeing a lot more of Kyle Williams next week against Tampa.
I would just roll with Diggs at X. I don't know. That's
Hollins
pop in the slot.
Yep.
The one thing, it's the same stunts over and over again with him, Morgan Moses, or next to Bradbury, obviously the most experienced lineman on that team. Just figure it out. This is stuff that we're looking at Will Campbell and Jared Wilson screw up in the preseason and be like, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We're not saying that about two guys, and it's really one guy at that point. I toyed with Zach Core, who again, I like the opening game plan, but just you limit Bijan Robinson, and I guess Drake London just balls out. What are you supposed to do? But it's just tough. Even their blitzes again, just not enough there. And I think it's a timing thing more than a volume thing. It's just didn't love what I saw from him there. Spillane has been mentioned. Barmore. Spillane actually not at that. Spillane's not at that. But
it wasn't at the level it's been at, but it wasn't abhorrent.
I don't know. I think you covered it. Special teams is clean, by the way. We'll just put that there. Just blanket. That's how you do special teams. Like last week when let me have it. It's just no. You listed off half of the special teams when we did duds. After saying, just the offensive line, just all of them together.
Richie Grant. Where was Richie Grant this week? How about Marte Mapu?
Oh, Tonga stud. Jesus. Almost missed that.
You weren't allowed to talk about him. You violated your own rules.
Okay. That's fine. Dad pod. I'm still not a dad. This is our segment where I'm just going to reveal all the little things that happen to me now as my life is about to change. Be responsible for a human being that I helped create. And in the meantime, I just have a lot of questions about when the due date, what you're going to do. And I told you when we first started doing this, or maybe this was in camp. So before we did every Monday night, when we all come back in the summer and it's like the first day of school, how was your summer? What did you do? Where did you go? Oh, did you see so-and-so? They look so different. They're, whatever. I was like, I want to start making stuff up. Like I helped someone escape from prison. Yeah. That's how my summer was. Like I'm actually, I changed my middle name, just I don't know. Like I set the world record for most Cheerios eaten in an hour. I don't know. Like we're waiting and there's nothing to do but wait. It feels weird to me not to plan out and get a guest already scheduled for Thursday, Friday, but John Zanis might be running that show. And I don't know how that'll go. Our boss at CLNS Media. Do you just wait? Do you just do nothing? Do I just tell people I don't know? Or I just keep going about my day? I know what the football coach's answer would be. Can't control that. We're just going to take it day by day. I'm going to sometimes it's good advice. Is this one of those times?
I mean, there's really, truly nothing you can do. I mean, we did I think with the first one, we started having like wild contractions, like a couple of them really close together. And then
then we did or she did?
Well, I mean,
I'll be particular about this.
It's a team thing.
Oh, bro, really?
No, it's not. I was not in any physical. Actually, I was in physical pain. Different story for a different day. So we went to. I was just like, we're going. Just go. Grab your stuff. We're gonna go. We went in there and they here and like, this baby's not coming until tomorrow. You guys can go home. It's like, are you hungry? Yeah, I'm hungry. Went to Bertucci's.
Ugh.
I had a great pizza pie. She wasn't feeling it, as you could imagine, because contractions were still coming sporadically, and they don't feel good. So I stuffed my face with a half a pizza and about 4 rolls and some butter and drove home.
Quick Bertucci's aside. When I was a kid, 7, 8, we went to visit one of my mom's friends, and we went to Bertucci's. I'd never really been in this town. It was unusual. Wasn't feeling particularly well. So I sit inside of the booth. It's her friend. I think like her friend's kids who, I'm friendly with or whatever was going on. It's just like, I don't know. This is not sitting well. They plop the dough in front of me. I'm like, I don't really want to play with this. What's going on? I just want to sit and I eat. I go, I think I'm going to throw up. Oh, I got to get out. No, you're fine. You're fine. It's just take some breaths, have some water. No. I don't throw up a lot. I'm going to vomit. Okay. Slide out of the booth. One person goes. Next person goes. I take one step out of the booth. Blah. Walks into the bathroom. Blah. Finally get inside the bathroom. Blah. 2 more times. By the time we got back, restaurant is completely cleared. Like I have cleared the Bertucci's in Glastonbury, Connecticut, which is since closed, by the way, as I understand it.
Health violations, I think.
She claims years later. Oh, and of course, being a 7-year-old, because this is how the part of my brain that I keep from being 7. Never gone back to a Bertucci's. Will never go back to a Bertucci's. You made me sick. That is all that I needed to know. Science and reason and logic be damned. She went back there and for whatever reason got talking with the manager, because my mom's someone who could talk to anyone at any time. Oh. And that guy says, I've been here X amount of years. So she brings up the story.
You remembered it.
He remembered me. So there you go. Shout out Bertucci's. Something I never thought I'd say. All right, let me have it. This is our segment, in case you're new, where Mike keeps something that I said earlier in the pod. He didn't really like, but he wasn't going to tell me right away because he was going to save it for this segment. Let me have it. And I
saved it, and it was great because I had a couple of things, but I wasn't like totally enthralled with. And just 10 minutes ago, not even, you screwed up your own microphone. And then if you saw the look of panic on your face and bewilderment, like, what did I do? And then you thought you fixed it. You're like, I fixed it. I'm like, no, you didn't fix it. It's still not working. And that'd be Bailey, who's producing the program tonight. If Bailey wants to get a nice screen grab and send that to me, I would be, because I have a couple that I've saved, because they always seem to, when they pull the screen grabs for clips, it's always when your face is like twisted up or your eyes are crooked or one eye's open and one's closed or snot's coming out of your nose or something. They always seem to find those clips, but this was pretty special.
So you know what's funny? We have the same choice for Let Me Have It.
Really?
You did not let me have it enough in that moment. We're doing a whole show, and your best has always got a sensitive chord, which is true. But you should be absolutely unloading on me for what an idiot in the year 2025. We've done this with Zoom. We've been through a pandemic. We have done X amount of shows. It's week 9. Callahan, get it together. Are you serious? I'm just going to commandeer the show. You know, we're skipping right to Okay, let me have it right now. And this is the segment, and I'm in charge. I'm the captain now because your dumbass can't get your own mic to work. Granted, the cord is very sensitive, and I am just going to have my mic go missing one of these days and just tell Amit or John Zanis, oh, yeah, I don't really know what happened. Someone robbed our apartment, left all the expensive stuff, but the mic's gone, so I need a new one. Anyway, you should have let me have it when you had the chance, and you didn't. And now I'm letting you have it. Okay, last segment, mailbag, and this is where I jump back into my mentions and see that we have a lot of new voices, thanks to our pals, Bailey and others who have clipped some parts of the show as well as Savage Sports. There he is with the old clip, and I still scrolling for these mentions. I'm just going to go to my account and figure this out and go to the replies. We had some good questions. You could always ask us. I post and ask for these on Twitter and Blue Sky, where, of course, you can follow us. Also, by the way, if you're not subscribed yet, the YouTube channel, if you missed any part of this episode, other episode, Carlton Davis telling me he's going to smack the mic out of my hand because he wouldn't say Roll Tide. He went to Auburn. Keelan Chason's Uber alias. Tomorrow, Douglas with the best interview you'll ever see. Go to @_Andrew Callahan. You will find all of that there. All of these episodes, all of the insight, all of the breakdowns, all of the film, everything that you could want @_Andrew Callahan on YouTube. Please go subscribe, find it, enjoy. Give us some feedback. We're always trying to grow. And the Spotify and Apple folks, sleeping on the job a little bit. You can let us have it. Just do so with a 5-star rating. That's all we ask for. Now, as I bought myself some time with all of that, I still not found the mailbag. Oh, there it is. Okay, here we go. So, mailbag question number 1. Kyle Marsden, quote, what should we be more concerned with right now? The lack of pass rush and getting to the quarterback, or the offensive line and pass protection in the last few games?
If you're including pass protection and putting the quarterback involved in that whole thing, as we've discussed, as you had 3, I said 2 or 3, you could make the case. Then I would say that, because he's your most important player, and he's shown that you can put points on the board when he's rolling. So obviously the best thing to do is keep him upright. And as Garrett Bradbury said, you see when we keep him clean and we give him a good pocket, what he's capable of doing, and that is being an MVP candidate this season.
I think it's the pass rush for me. I just think there's more to be done with the pass protection. Again, we talked about May. Throw the ball away a little bit more. That's it. Josh McDaniels has mitigated a lot so far this season. You're not going to see Myles Garrett a whole lot more. You'll need some more answers versus man coverage. The Falcons blitz a lot. I don't feel good about it. It's a very small call for me, but it's a pass rush because, again, even when they're blitzing, it's been bad news. Jules, is Matt Judon an option for a trade, or is he not a good fit for this defense? Seems like he would be a good, cheap, situational pass rushing option. He, of course, is in Miami, where everything is for sale. The magnets on the wall, the pens, the erasers. Ann Nolan's, I don't know, the head of PR down there used to work in New England. Her
Barrett's.
Notepad. Sure, Barrett's, yes.
No, I'm all set with him. Been there, done that. He did not handle his exit gracefully, and he did what he felt was right. I don't think you need to bring that back. Granted, it's not a totally different regime, because as we remember, the day that he decided to go absolutely nuts during training camp, it wasn't mostly directed at Gerard Mayo. It was come find Elliott Wolf and Matt Groh and let them have it in front of everyone as well. So you know what? You're good. Have a nice life.
I'm with you. There's something that breaks in his brain when it comes to money, and I'm not here to say that I should tell anyone how to handle their money. But as far as being a professional, I know a little something about that, believe it or not. And that was not it. And you don't need him. And he's bounced around from Atlanta, where he was horrible, by the way. I wrote a column last year about this time saying the Patriots already won the trade. It's just what it is. That's how bad he's been. And I stand by it. Nothing against him personally, but like, if I'm the Patriots, I don't know why I would invite that back. We can find some other options. Carlos, hey guys, what do you think is the biggest thing holding the offense back from having a consistent 4 quarters of production? Thank you.
I mean, part of it is protection. Part of it is the quarterback's decision in those protection, in those moments of, as you said, throw the ball away occasionally as opposed to take the sack. And obviously, they had started to find something with the run game, and it wasn't like the run game was non-existent on Sunday, but it's still not a strength of theirs. So it'd be nice if they could get a little bit more consistent production out of that. I mean, just take a little take a little weight off the quarterback whenever you can.
Yeah, I would say too, like you hear that a lot, that phrasing from coaches and players, and it's not to be conflated with perfectionism and the best possible football that we can play. But I don't know how many teams you find playing consistent 4 quarters and being productive. Feel like guys have slip ups or missed blocks, they run into each other, even at the professional level. So I'm not saying give up on the notion. I think the run game is the right answer. But if I'm looking for better offense, maybe not production for 4 quarters, I just want to eliminate the biggest mistakes. And right now, those are Maye taking sacks at the second highest rate of any quarterback in the league when he's pressured. So no one has sung more praises about Drake Maye than 2 of us. But he's just got to cut the sacks down. That's what it is. Jordan, after this game, what position feels more likely that the Patriots will trade to fix their depth? Receiver, running back, edge, or defensive back?
Edge.
I agree. I mean, running back still is there, right? Like it's just,
yeah.
I think they feel better about Travion maybe than we do, even though 3 pressures, 8 snaps of blitz pickup. It's not great, but we're not in the front office. We're not in the coaching staff.
Nope.
Okay. I'm going to pop over to Blue Sky for a second. Actually, you know what? No, we got one more for Twitter, and then actually we might be done here because we've been going for a while. Let's see. Pats fan, why haven't we seen more naked boot runs from Maye this year? I understand why he's not running up the middle, but naked boots seem like a good compromise. Something I've said to my wife on occasion. Still get to know there too. I don't know what the deal is. Do you have an answer? Can you help us?
I've never been in the give Drake Maye more runs. I think it just happens naturally over the course of the game where you're scrambling and you make plays with your legs. They've done plenty of boot action stuff where they're giving the high-low option, or sometimes they flood the zone. They're giving high, medium, low. And there are times where he just turns that into a run. So he's a good runner of the football.
Oh, come on. Runner of the football?
I don't know. Just
this is the NFL Network sticking in you, and everyone just needs to elongate something to drive it home. I know this is edition 2 of.
We've been doing this for an hour and 37 minutes and 14 seconds, including a minute and a half where you screwed up the microphone.
Look, despite that, I'm a good speaker of the English, so you'll just have to forgive me. Tell me more about runner of the football.
You're also an asshat, okay? And so I'm not. He's not Josh. He's not like. People, you can make the comparison with some of the things that he does. Josh is physically built in a much different, thicker manner than Drake is. I am fine with the amount of times that he tucks and runs it. In fact, I would say on occasion, I'd like him to run a little less, throw it out of bounds, scramble less.
How about this? I got a prediction for you.
Yeah.
Drake Maye will run a naked bootleg by the end of the month. And by that, I mean, like naked boots, like a bootleg run means we are faking the run one way, and I'm the only person, not a receiver, not anybody, going the other way. Peyton Manning famously scored a touchdown on this near the goal line in Dallas because that was the last person at that time of his career you would ever expect to run a naked bootleg. I think they're waiting on it. I think they're sitting on it, and I think you will see it sometime by the end of the month. So you got this week versus Tampa, the Jets after that, the Bengals, and then I think that carries me into the Giants. I should have said before the bye, next 4 games. But
what if you just said either this week against Tampa or December 21st in Baltimore,
or before that against the Bills? But now we're doing a lot of games. Yeah, at some point he'll do it. It's just the reasons you said, and I think it's one bullet. They only get one shot to do it, and they're going to do it. All right. Thank you for hanging out. This was shorter than our last one, which is to say still very long. I don't know if we will be back next Monday night. We will certainly be back in 2 weeks, which will be after a Thursday night game. So maybe it won't be Monday night. Maybe it'll probably be Monday night. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thank you to everyone for the questions. Again, if you're listening at Apple or Spotify, you just spent over an hour and a half with us. Just leave us a review, 5-star rating. It will take a fraction of what you just did listening to this pod. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe at _Andrew Callahan. Find everything that you have said. That you've missed, that we've said and covered this week, last week, and plenty of player interviews. A lot of fun. Anything else?
No, I think we nailed it.
I think we did too. See you sometime.
Yes. Good luck. Godspeed.
I appreciate it. I'll need it as a father of the child. See ya.
See you.